The U.S. and Iran agreeing to pause strikes and meet this week after escalating tensions threatened to put this whole peace deal at risk.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst live in Tel Aviv with the details. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. After two exchanges of fire over the weekend between the United States and Iran, U.S. officials say technical talks between the two countries will move forward as planned. This all started late last week when the Iranians targeted vessels in the Strait of Hormuz with one-way attack drones. We know the U.S. responded with strikes in southwestern Iran. When the Iranians attacked yet another oil tanker, the U.S. ramped up strikes, going after Iranian military surveillance infrastructure, communication systems, air defense sites, drone storage facilities, and mine-laying capabilities. In response, the Iranians launched missiles and drones toward Kuwait and Bahrain early Sunday. The goal here for the Trump administration in the short term remains keeping the Strait of Hormuz open and safe. But this week, those more detailed discussions on Iran's nuclear program will proceed.
The president's patience isn't going to last forever. Discussions are ongoing, particularly at a technical level of how to get inspectors in, the down blending and the other pieces that are focused on ensuring Iran never has a nuclear weapon. But they need to understand their leverage is diminishing by the day. Iran has a choice to make. It's going to be a responsible nation, or it can continue down this path to absolute ruin.
Over the weekend, 60 members of Iran's Assembly of Experts released a statement saying Iran's nuclear rights must not be subject to discussion or dispute. This government body also threatened President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying they must be brought to justice. The statement comes as the situation between Israel and Hezbollah plays out on a separate but parallel track. The Israelis launched new strikes against Hezbollah this weekend after Hezbollah killed one IDF soldier. Late last week, there was a diplomatic breakthrough in Washington as Israel and Lebanon signed a framework agreement aimed at normalizing ties between the two countries and disarming Hezbollah.
We are breaking the Iranian axis of terror, but we are also breaking the Iranian diplomatic axis. We managed to reach this framework of understanding for a simple reason, because we struck Hezbollah hard. And Hezbollah, which expected assistance from Iran, did not receive it, because we struck Iran hard.
The bottom line here, diplomatic efforts continue despite these military flare-ups. We do expect this equation to proceed in the days and weeks ahead. Guys?
Trey, you mentioned that 60 members of Iran's Assembly of Experts released this statement saying that Iran's nuclear program should not be negotiated. Can you dive into that a little bit more for us when it comes to what that group is and how big of a deal that might be?
Yeah, so the Assembly of Experts speaks on behalf of Iran's Supreme Leader, Mojtaba Khamenei. This is the body that actually elects the Supreme Leader inside of Iran. And so while they have less political persuasion than, say, the parliament members in Iran, they do have a lot of the propaganda and also the word of the Supreme Leader when they make these types of statements. What was interesting, 60 members out of around 85 or 86 total members made the statement. And so it's an indication there is somewhat of a divide inside of Iran as it relates to the Assembly of Experts, but this is a government body, and they are speaking again on behalf of Iran's Supreme Leader, talking not just about Iran's nuclear program and what they want to maintain as rights for the country of Iran, but also specifically about President Trump and this threatening language. And we saw on the headlines today across Iranian newspapers more of this threatening language against the United States and Israel. And it gives you a sense of where the mindset is in Tehran about this memorandum of understanding and the path forward.
Okay, 60 out of 85 noted on that number of this very important group, and a deeply tumultuous weekend, and now more diplomacy to come for the time being. Trey Yingst live for us in Tel Aviv. Trey, thank you so much. All right, let's bring in the director of the American Military Project at Claremont, Will Thibeau. Will, thank you so much for joining us. What do you think about all of this? Diplomacy is now back on after a weekend where it looked like we were in anything but a ceasefire.
Morning, Carly. I think this is a reasonable expectation until we have a more permanent deal in place. The United States, and this is to President Trump's credit, must demonstrate that we have a credible military deterrent that we can apply at our will if Iran tries to, let's say, misbehave. And I think Iran sees it similarly in the sense that they don't want to, in their eyes, give up control or the free flow of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz until there is a deal that they consider acceptable. So I don't think it's impossible that more, weekend exchanges of violence take place because we're not at a deal yet, and nothing is complete. But this also shouldn't, give your viewers and Americans the perception that a deal is impossible. I think this will be this tense standoff that manifests itself in the Middle East, in Israel and Lebanon too, until there is something more complete on the table. But I think it does show that, hey, we're still looking to get a deal on the table that makes sense for America and doesn't just surrender the deal to Iran.
Well, Will, speaking of tense standoff, when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, one senior Iranian official posted on X, the Strait of Hormuz is governed by Iran. So if you don't learn the rules, the Iranian armed forces will teach them to you. You also have the IRGC saying you're not going to transit the strait without coordination from us. This is in direct conflict and contradiction to what the Memorandum of Understanding said. So how should the President Trump, be processing this information and proceed?
I think he's going to respond, if it comes down to it, with airstrikes and missile strikes on the Iranian infrastructure at the southern part of the country that those leaders think gives them military options over the Strait of Hormuz. The president is willing to dedicate American military assets to ensure the free flow of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. It's tough. It's a shallow, obviously a choke point, a shallow body of water. And, the Iran is going to keep messaging with some bombastic rhetoric. They're going to try and maintain the upper hand with these drone strikes on some commercial shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Hopefully that, the route through the Oman territorial waters, shows that the United States, the Gulf states, are willing to cooperate to ensure that Iran can't have the Strait of Hormuz in a stranglehold. And we just, we need another month, another 6 weeks to give diplomacy the time and the chance to ensure that this doesn't happen again. But the difference from the past is that we have a military deterrent on the table that will cause pain to the Iranians if they try and do this again.
Well, listen, the Iranian economy is horrific. Inflation in Iran sharply rose in June, reaching a peak of 88.6 year on year. That we're in hyperinflation territory. And the thinking within the Trump administration is that Iran would want a better economy and want to be integrated into global trade. Is that true, or do they care more about their nuclear ambitions?
Carly, I think there's a balance here. Iran definitely cares about their economy. I do think we should understand them as a rational state actor. Obviously, they have these bizarre religious ambitions that, frame that, but they are a rational state actor that wants to be able to viably compete on the global scale. And that's where the MOU provides, let's say, some carrots to compel them to cooperation. Some investment from the Gulf states, participation in the U.S. dollar and the oil trade that way. Those are things that if Iran is responsible, if they are going to take this chance to show that they're responsible, those are items in the MOU that give them a clear path towards some sort of economic vitality to really change the game for their people. But as the administration has said, it's only going to come with cooperation. But I do think the way the MOU is structured along those ways is a much more enduring alternative than, say, the JCPOA, or even then a full-scale war to make this transition happen.
Well, this week's technical discussions will focus on the nuclear program, so we're going to see how all of that plays out and proceeds. Will Thibeau, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.